like coffee and sewing. Today we're going to go over all of the things I received and bought for myself for my birthday month. So first up, I went to Joann's. I know, Joann's. It's the first time I've gone since Corona started and only bought 2 things. So first up, fabric. I bought this. It's tapestry. It's not really coming up in true color. It's like a dark tealish green. What I really wanted was some like corduroy, like some forest green corduroy. I made myself a mini skirt last month and I wanted a vest to go with it. I'm obsessed with vests. If you watch Rachel Maxey, she has been wearing vests like nonstop, and now I really, really want a vest. So I only got, this was a remnant, so I think it was less than a yard. But I think it will go really well with the skirt I made last month. And then the next thing I bought was actually here. This is my serger cone thread rack. I had one before and I actually thought that all thread racks were the same, but serger thread racks are actually a little bit longer, and the spool, the wooden dowels are actually a little bit thicker to support the weight of the thread cones. So I bought one more of these so I could have all of my serger thread on display, and it was like 40% off. I follow Kittenish Behavior, and she does Sunday sewing chats, Sunday live chats, and they were talking about sweaters that they wanted to knit. And one of those sweaters was the Tundra, and it's this beautiful kind of oversized, cozy turtleneck with this beautiful kind of cabling that looks like snowflakes. Oh, it's beautiful. And so I reached out to my local yarn store, a Little Nitty out of Auburn, and I showed her the picture, and I told her I wanted some kind of gray tones. So she sent me a link of like 3 or 4 that they had available, and the color I decided was called Pearl, and the yarn is a Rios. Let me show you that. A Rios, and it is a worsted wool, but it's really beautiful. It's this kind of mauvey gray color, and it's super soft. I cannot wait to knit with this. And then since I've only recently started knitting within the last year, I've never bought myself a yarn bowl. I took some time off work so I could spend 3 days plus the weekend in my sewing cave. And I have tons of PDF patterns, and I have never sent them to a copy shop. And so I sent a huge batch. And when I mean huge, like I think I spent over $100 at the copy shop. So I printed off all of, I printed off the princess coat. I printed off the hooded extension that's provided to her patrons on her Patreon page. I printed out the Stanwick bodice and collar that comes with the Stanwick skirt, the dressing gown. What else? I printed out a lot. Let's see, what is this? And man, the princess coat. I didn't realize how many options. So this whole thing is all just the basic princess coat, not the extensions. But I had never done it before, and it was so easy and so quick. I mean, it was like 3 days. And so I had these as just kind of a back burner project, and then I was going to spend the majority of my time working on the Jacika Blazer. And I trace all my patterns. I'm like full team trace. There are 35 pieces to that pattern. And I was thinking I was going to have to trace anyways because, again, massive full bust adjustments. And Closet Core Patterns actually has the pattern pieces for up to a D cup. I'm not tracing that pattern. It's like 35 pieces. So I have placed another order with PDF plotting to get the full Jacika Blazer so I can just cut it out. And it's so worth it. I mean, it's $11 for shipping. So you want to kind of bulk order to, offset that price. But it's so easy. I mean, that'll save me so much time, and I think I might do that going forward. There is a quilt/garment fabric store in Renton, and it's my local store. It's Wildwood Creative. I support them on Patreon, and she had her 1-year anniversary sale. Of course I had to go. And I have tons of fabric, like so much fabric. So I was good. I only bought 2 pieces of fabric at Wildwood Creative. So first up is this buffalo plaid mammoth flannel. And I have sewn with this before. I made a midi length skirt out of, I think it's like a gray, white, and red plaid. It is so warm and so cozy. It's a little too warm. You definitely only want to wear it in the autumn, like cold autumn months, or in the winter. But I thought, since we're stuck at home, I could make like a topper or a duster out of this, and I could use this as a layer when I get chilly when I'm working from home. And I can turn the video on, and it's not going to look like a robe. It's going to look like a nice light coat. So that's what I'm going to do with this. And I always overbuy. I think I got 4 yards of this. But, you know, with pattern matching and everything, and then if I do bias detailing, hopefully 4 yards will be enough. And then, like I mentioned, I was going to do the Jacika Blazer, and it comes with shoulder pads and sleeve head pattern pieces, and it recommends felt, wool fleece, or cotton batting. And I didn't have any cotton batting because I quilt, like I think I've made like 2 quilts, but I didn't have any in my stash. So I bought a yard, which is way more than I need, but I know I can use it for other things. So I bought a yard of the cotton batting. And then Wildwood Creative actually sells candles from my favorite candle company, and it's Orca's Island. And this is grapefruit and bergamot. I think that's how you pronounce it. Oh, but it smells so good. It's citrus, refreshing, and energizing. It is. I have never had a candle like smell so good. So I bought all of this smell. So it is the number 2, and I bought the largest size she has, and the medium, and the small. Isn't that cute? And then the last thing I bought, I treated myself to some stationery, and I bought this card, and it says, "You brighten my day." I thought that was really cute. It's blank inside, so I'm going to use it as a thank you card. And then next up, if you're in the Seattle area, you might know of a secondhand like art supply store called Seattle Recreative. And they sell yarn and fabric and notions and patterns and books and scrapbooking supplies. Like anything you could think of to make art out of, they have it. And I went maybe like a month or 2 ago, and I bought a lot of patterns in my size. So they didn't have a lot when I went, but I did end up buying these 2 patterns. And this is just a basic blouse. It's not my size, but I really like kind of the looser fit through. And then there's also a tie belt that can be worn as a belt or looped around the neck as, kind of like a tie. So this will be really easy to alter. And then the second one is just a kind of Renaissance inspired costume. I tend to buy costume patterns when they're kind of close to my size, just because I can hack it. Like I can take pieces from this pattern, mix it with another pattern to get the look I want. And I do that a lot with my daughter's Halloween costumes. I bought myself, this is a densely woven cotton, but I thought I could use this for like stabilizing hems. And then some snaps. Can't have enough snaps. Snaps. And then they have thread. So buying secondhand thread is definitely hit or miss. You kind of have to kind of test the thread to make sure it's not rotted. But they had all of this serger thread, and it didn't look like the plastic had yellowed, so I was fairly confident buying this. And so they have, because I have a serger thread rack now, I have to fill it up. I bought some in this blue colorway and this green colorway. And some yellow, and there's some more green, just a random blue one, and some more of the lighter green, and this is just kind of your denim top stitching thread color, which I already have some, but I could always use more. And then this, they had 2 spools of woolly nylon, again, so the plastic didn't look yellowed, so I'm fairly confident that this will still sew really well. And I've always heard that serging with woolly nylon on your knits is really helpful to maintain the stretch, especially for like swimsuits or lingerie, those seams that get put under a lot of pressure, and the woolly nylon kind of gives it that extra bit of flexibility. So these are dark green, but I mean, I can use it. I like rarely change my serger thread unless the fabric is sheer or the thread I have on there will be really noticeable on the right hand side. So even though this is a dark forest green, I'm sure I can use it in a lot of things. And then last up is some blanket seam binding. So I made myself a mini skirt and I shortened the lining a little too short. So it needs probably about another inch of length. It's doable now, like it works and it stops, tights and everything from snagging the skirt. But I want to kind of bridge that gap. And I thought instead of cutting bias tape from like super shifty lining fabric, that I might be able to just use this and tack it on the bottom. So we're gonna play with that. So that was my Seattle recreative, and any store I mentioned today I will try to put down in the description box. But if you have any questions or you want any pointers or local restaurants near any of these locations, like, feel free to put it in the comments and I'll provide some information if I have it. So this is the time of Corona and COVID, so I don't get out of the house very often, but it's nice to dream. We can plan for if we ever return back to normal. I follow like all of the vintage resellers on Instagram. I love vintage. Most of the time I cannot fit in, real vintage and true vintage just because of my bust to weight ratio. I'm usually like a 16 or an 18, and finding true vintage in those sizes just isn't very common. So I tend to buy like vintage fabric and try to recreate the look or something similar using vintage fabric. And this was on Skirt Chaser Vintage's sale page. I will link that in the description box. She has an Instagram. And I thought this was so pretty. It's a border print. And it's got almost like a denim blue color with like almost like a smattering of like tie-dye batik. But I thought it was so interesting. And I'm a sucker for a border print, like really bad. So I thought I could use this for like a gathered skirt and a crop top as like a play suit, or I can make a fit and flare, or I can make a blouse. But this is, they just don't make cotton like this anymore. It's really nice. It's got a nice hand fill. It's dense, and it wasn't that expensive. I think it was maybe like $20, $25. Not bad at all. The one store that gets me into trouble right now, especially with their like ridiculous 2 to 3 day shipping, Waywack. So I haven't been going to Joann's because I've been ordering things from Waywack. The thing I'm most excited about, if you have seen Stitch Collective, they have a YouTube channel, and I'll link that in the description. And she had a video maybe a month or two ago about the thread guide. And what it does is it identifies all of the Gutermann thread, so you can color match your fabric using this card and then order it from Waywack and know that you're going to get the thread in like 3 to 5 days. But it's so pretty. And you can tell I have a thing for thread, right? So I'm really excited about getting this. Treated myself to some interfacing. So this is woven interfacing, but the glue feels like actual like quality glue. Oh, that sounds weird, but it feels different. It's not like, the stuff you buy at Joann's. And this is a 5-yard bundle, and it's 45 inches wide. So this is gonna last me years. More interfacing. So this is Trico Interfacing. It's got a little bit of stretch along the cross grain. And I bought this because it was specifically listed as a notion. I think it was on my Jacika Blazer, but I don't have any. And this is just, again, just a better quality than I'm used to working with. And then, it's more thread. How exciting. So I always run out of thread. I know I have tons, but like in my basics, my white and my black, I use these a lot for like basting. And I usually add linings to most of my stuff, so I'm sewing twice the amount of seams for all of my garments. So I thought having some white and some black would be a good, kind of a good standby. And I've never used these, there's 6,000 meters on here, but I've never used these big spools. And my last Waywack order, I actually bought one of the little spool things. Let me go get that. Yeah, so in my last Waywack order, I bought one of these. And so I haven't used it. I thought, if I really needed to, I could use some serger thread for basting. So that's what I bought it for. But now that I have my thread cart, my thread card, what do they call this? A shade card. Okay, it is a card. I can actually order the bigger spools of color matched if I ever need to buy more more thread. I know. If you think this is a lot of thread, think of what my fabric stash looks like. It's a little ridiculous. Okay, so I have never used this stuff before, but I'm super excited to try it. This is spiral steel boning, and I am one of Gertie's patrons, and she's always talking about, like structure in her dresses and using spiral steel boning. So Waywack did not have the little steel caps, but I have seen people using epoxy, I think is what I've got to find the real stuff that people use. And then you can use wire cutters and cut these down. So I cut the longest, I bought the longest length they had. I think these are 18 inches. And I thought, most bodices, I could probably get away with 6 or 9 inches. So I'd be able to get 2 or 3, like boning channels out of one of these. And then needles were on sale when I placed my order earlier this week. I don't know what's going on right now, but I ordered needles because I had free shipping at $100, so I needed to reach $100. So I have a Bernina, kind of one of the higher end Berninas, and I'm bad. I am not a needle snob, so I use Oregon needles all the time. And so I bought 2 embroidery. So my machine has an embroidery attachment, and I've actually never used it. I've had my machine for like 2 years. So that's one of the things I want to do by the end of the year, is to like not be afraid of my embroidery unit. And these are 2 ballpoint. I bought Oregon jean needle and then Class A top stitching needles. I have never used Class A needles. They're supposed to be a little bit better, but I thought I could do kind of a 1-to-1 comparison. I want to make a pair of Ginger jeans or Ames jeans, just like the Jacika Blazer. Something a little bit more difficult that, it'll take a couple of weeks to do properly. Some just basic shell buttons. So I bought 2, so that's 24 of these, and I have never made a button-up shirt. And I want to make the, it's one of Cashmerette's, and it's got like the double princess seams. I have a heck of a time finding button-up shirts that fit me properly because I've got, I think, double G's. So it's a little bit difficult finding shirts that fit properly. So that's what these are for, to finally make a button-up shirt that fits. And then another one of the things that are listed as notions in the Jacika Blazer is twill tape. And I have, I think it's 3/4 or maybe an inch wide twill tape, but I didn't have this really narrow twill tape. This is 1/4 of an inch. And this is for the lapel line, so the collar will, kind of drape properly. The biggest expenses for my birthday, Closet Core Patterns had a sale for Thanksgiving, and I think everything was like 15 or 20% off, including their classes. I bought the Jacika class. I had the paper pattern, and so when I bought the class, I didn't see an option to say like no pattern. And I was kind of bummed about that. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll select PDF because I have the paper pattern. And I'm so thankful, again, because there's 35 pieces to that pattern. And because I clicked PDF, I can print it and it'll be here in a couple days and I can just cut that out and I don't have to trace anything. I don't have to do alterations. I'm pretty excited. Yeah. So that was, I think it was like $44 or $45 because of the sale. And I've watched, I don't know, like a third of it. It's pretty comprehensive. I think that, with Closet Core Patterns, their instructions are fantastic, but this is just that extra layer of help to kind of guide you along. They do a little bit of fitting, and there's a fitting guide included in the class. So I know I'll use that. So this was the most expensive purchase, and this was my birthday gift from my husband. Brooks and Camper, I don't know, look her up. She is like so knowledgeable, and she has some online courses. She teaches at Camp Workroom Social. She does a lot of like custom bridal gowns. Her Instagram is amazing. Well, anywho, so she's the teacher of this class I signed up for, and I just finished skirt skills with her, and this is where you make a block based on your measurements. And I have Crafty classes or blueprint, and now back to, oh, sorry. Cat photobomb. Good time for more coffee. Anywho, Brooks and Camper. I just finished the skirt skills with the where you draft your own block based on your measurements, and I have a Crafty / blueprint / Crafty class where you draft your own skirt block based on your measurements. And there was this like form you fill out and you write down all your measurements, and there's this equation that goes behind it, but it's not they don't really explain the why behind it, and I thought it was kind of confusing, and it's really for me it was intimidating. But with Brooks and Camper, the way she explains it just makes so much more sense. So I'm really excited because she is now going to be teaching a pants sloper class. It's a pants class, Smarty Pants. And I signed up for the beta, and that kicks off in a week. Brooks and Camper's classes are not cheap, but they are worth every penny if you can afford it. You can find resources online. There's books, and there's, like the Crafty videos, and those will get you through it. But I have learned so much in just that one class. And I have been sewing like nonstop for the last 8 years. I mean, I sewed on and off before that, but like I don't learn new things too often, but I was learning something new almost every day with this class. And I loved it. So I cannot wait to take the pants class that starts in a week. But again, it was fairly expensive. But that was like my big purchase. So if I add up all of my birthday goodies, we have about $100 on Waywack, and then 100 for the first order PDF, and the next one that's coming is about 40. Joann's was about 20. Wildwood was about 100 because the candles, they're a little expensive, but they're amazing. The Skirt Chaser Vintage Fabric was 25. The Seattle Recreative was 15, 16. And the yarn was like 125. So like 100 plus the yarn bowl. My classes were like 250, 300 combined. So I think we're up to like 600, 700. Ooh. Yeah, I will do the math, and I will list that here. But it's my birthday. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed my rambling and all of my massive goodies. There wasn't that much fabric, and trust me, that's a good thing. I have a lot of fabric, and we'll talk about that maybe in one of my next videos. But if you enjoyed the chat and the blabber and the caffeination, please feel free to like and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments or feedback about any of like the filming or the sound, anything like that, please feel free to drop them in the comments, and I'll respond as soon as I can. But thank you so much, and have a great day.